One by one, the new generation will catch up to you. And in the end, they'll surpass you.
忍びの時代は終わる。
だとしても俺は忍びだ。
Boruto is a very unfortunate character, both in his storytelling and within a view that could be conveyed as a meta-analysis of his entire being. Judged for many of his characteristics and things he cannot control, as if he was fated to be hated by his own world and by much of our world for things he didn't even do. A character which, to be frank, has been lied about, misconstrued, and almost represented in a way that just isn't the character you come to appreciate when you actually read his series. However, Boruto must overcome this journey and become the final shinobi, and therefore, the most powerful shinobi of all. You want to be a shadow like Sasuke Uchiha one day? But who is Sasuke Uchiha? Why would you be stronger than him? What do you know? You want to be stronger than the Hokage? But what even is the Hokage? Why would you be stronger than them? What do you even know? In this video, I aim to explore many narrative concepts that will help to illustrate the growth of Boruto and why it all fits into the totality of the Naruto world we know and love. This will not only give us a fun breakdown of his story and role in the world, but also really assist to texturize the power scaling of the characters in a way that everyone can understand. So sit back and learn some. This one took a lot of planning and needed to be done some proper justice. The Konoha 11 were a group of highly formidable and potential up-and-comers. Even the often memed about Tenten would go on to one day wield tools that were used by the very Sage of the Six Paths, that was considered a legendary mythological figure, and these are considered inhuman and almost impossible for any normal ninja in Naruto to wield, for her to then go on to destroy multiple pieces of Kakazu of the Akatsuki. Rock Lee, Shikamaru, Neji Hyuga, Ino Yamanaka, Sakura Haruna, Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Unezuka, Shino Aburame, Choji Akimichi, and of course, Naruto and Sasuke. But Naruto and Sasuke were starkly different from the others. They were completely alone. Even when surrounded by others, it was like they were walking in a dark room full of blurry faces. With Naruto bearing so much resentment in his heart, he often thought of destroying everyone. This power, while it didn't make them stronger at the start, gave them much more. It gave them the heart to endure, the heart of a true shinobi. With Sasuke's powers growing stronger throughout the evolution of his trauma, Naruto's were born from it. I'll go more into this later. In relation, this soul and heart to endure causes Naruto and Sasuke to seek such extremes that nobody else could even dare to think of, that they became relatively unstoppable. Not only within the story, but us rooting for that to happen on top of that. While there is a literal message happening, there's something a bit beneath the visual storytelling as well. Though this is the first step to the uniqueness to these characters, that isolation. You'll find it odd that Sasuke never attributes Naruto's power to the Nine Tails in their first big battle, or anything disconnected from him as a person. He attributes it to his very being, which comes very true at the end of the story. Thus, Boruto would too have to face this concept, this intense loneliness one day, if he ever would even dream of seeing a blur of the hearts of Naruto and Sasuke. And so Boruto's dreams did come true. He lost everything.
Heed this warning. Beware, for those blue eyes shall eventually take everything from you.
While only keeping a few allies, just like Sasuke, Boruto was isolated from everyone and everything. But he now had a mission, a soul, a purpose greater than his peers. He had to succeed or else, and would have to find any way to accomplish this, which led him to become accepted by Sasuke Uchiha, his idol at the time, with his daughter's cries to him, just like Sakura once cried to him in Naruto. What does it feel like for your own comrades to refuse to understand you, to refuse to accept you, to turn on you, for it to feel like you'd have to turn on them? This is something Sasuke had to face, and while Naruto dealt with much discrimination, was even being threatened by Danzo and other higher-ups at a certain point in the story, Sasuke had to bear a huge brunt of it as he grew into a proper shinobi. So to see the hearts of Naruto and Sasuke, Boruto's dreams once again did come true. His own comrades turned on him. This led to him becoming accepted by Kashin Koji, who could only conclude they all felt this way about him because something had gone terribly wrong. Do you know what it's like to have to face your own brother, a friend you would have died for? So Boruto's dreams did come true. He would have to face his own brother. To become so strong his own brother wouldn't die, he would have to train as hard as he possibly could, even when his brother was trying to turn on him and do him the worst. What is it like for your own very being to betray you? That to become strong, you could lose control of your very soul at any moment. So his dreams did come true. Boruto was possessed. He was possessed by Momoshiki. Momoshiki was a demon that represented taking the easy way out, with Naruto and Sasuke representing hard work and endurance in comparison. Momoshiki would pop pills, while Naruto and Sasuke trained endlessly for their ambitions and goals. Momoshiki was a demon that plagued Boruto. He wanted to take the easy way, to cheat, to become strong as fast as possible at the cost of others and their hard work being disregarded. While he was able to contend with this demon with Naruto and Sasuke's help and advice, it was still a part of him and wouldn't be leaving anytime soon. Kashin Koji would use his future sight to find the most optimal way of working hard for the most efficient and fast results, almost cheating and working hard at the same time. Boruto's true dream realized, with Momoshiki always threatening to return in his life should Boruto lose sight of who he is now and wants to be. Naruto was a man who could have either saved or destroyed the entire world. This was embodied by the demon known as the Nine-Tailed Fox. This demon could go from person to person, and whoever possessed it could either save or destroy everything. First with Madara Uchiha, then Obito Uchiha, and then Naruto Uzumaki, in terms of most relevant within the story. But only the Hokage could ever stop this sinister prophecy from coming true, or fulfilling it at the cost of self-sacrifice. Whether it be Hashirama sacrificing a piece of his own being and killing his own friend for his dream, whether it be Minato sacrificing his own family to change the cycle of hatred and to protect his own dreams, or Naruto sacrificing his own being to stop Ishiki, the most powerful entity they have ever met, from destroying the world and thus fulfilling the prophecy of Kurama at the same time. The Hokage could change fate itself at the cost of themselves. So his dream did come true. He would sacrifice himself to change fate. This led to his once antagonistic brother Kawaki, still a bit antagonistic, working with him more closely, and even Kashin Koji himself being unable to see how the reels of fate would change with every single one of Boruto's decisions. Momoshiki in his many lectures would slowly be proven wrong, as Boruto made his own future with those he loves, just like Naruto and Sasuke had to do long ago. Naruto had to innovate his skill set to surpass the previous generations, even with the Nine Tails within his body. To learn the Rasen Shuriken and many high-level techniques such as the Rasengan, he had to be creative. Would Boruto be willing to do the same? Yes. This would lead to him mastering his own unique version of the Flying Raijin and Rasengan as well, where Naruto had to use a clone to make a Rasengan or two clones to make a Rasen Shuriken. Boruto had to use various shapes and other forms of energy to transfer himself to objects with space-time ninjutsu, so his dreams would come true. This dream would be a shinobi parallel to what Momoshiki offered him. Whereas Momoshiki desired to destroy the future to absorb the past through the karma marks and divine trees, Boruto offered to protect it and to absorb the past through hard work and effort, using the planet's energy and resources to defend it, just like his father did long ago. Now that we've painted a picture of Boruto's journey in terms of traversing the paths of his forefathers, we can go over the very literal power that he possesses. The easiest basis of this is to figure out how strong Momoshiki is, the Otsutsuki that resides within him, as Boruto has to obviously surpass Momoshiki, more than likely, and use his powers at many points in the series. Similar to figuring out how strong the Nine Tails is within Naruto, as Naruto then accesses all its power, but arguably in this case, a lot more significant, as Boruto doesn't say have a Six Paths equivalent that just far surpasses the Nine Tails, or Momoshiki in this case, that makes Momoshiki insignificant, making it even more paramount that we figure it out. To do this, we should once again start from the very beginning. Long ago, half of the Nine Tails was sealed inside of Naruto's body. with the other half being sealed into his father before he passed away. This half of the Ninetales had incredible fighting strength. Even slivers of its power made legendary shinobi crap themselves and do everything in their power just to survive a confrontation with it, oftentimes failing if the Ninetales got too haywire, very similar to Momoshiki and Boruto today. Within the data books, it is stated to have the power to turn the world to ash, and in the Boruto database, the completed version has immeasurable chakra reserves. Even in the last, this is stated. And while this could mean the world as they know it, society, life on Earth, or the planet, due to the way the story eventually evolves, it may not actually be an exaggeration, as Naruto eventually has to fight beings who can arguably annihilate stars, solar systems, time spaces, however you interpret it at the end of the series, with Kurama being somewhat of a portion of the overall battle power required to do these feats. This leads into Naruto's ability to use Kurama's chakra in combination with his own, and even add Sage Mode on top of it. Whether or not Sage Mode is a sort of Dragon Ball multiplier of Kurama's power as well as Naruto's is a bit harder to say, since Sage Mode could be considered an intense and more well-favored variation of Senjutsu-type chakras and things that can be found in certain phenomena like curse marks, and these can amplify a person's power by over 10-fold in part 1 of the story, as just an example. With Kurama's chakra, Naruto can amplify thousands of shinobi by arguably over 3 times Kakashi's power when he's trying to make Kamui attacks during the Ten Tails battle, an already top-tier Kage-level shinobi who was considered a candidate to be Hokage even before the war even began. Then the scale goes into some crazy territory as eventually we learn Madara could wield the entire Ninetales, not just half of it like Naruto has, and then slap his own titanic, perfect Susanoo on top of it that almost rivals the size of giant meteors that earlier in the show were basically eclipsing the horizon from our POV. His Susanoo and powers are already rivaling, if not surpassing, the full Ninetales, probably exerting at the bare minimum a power over 4 times greater in totality than the Ninetales within Naruto. This is pretty supported by the fact that Hashirama can box with the Ninetales at least a bit in base form, however you think that would go down, then goes into his own Sage Mode to just fight Madara off. They then get to the point where Obito Uchiha absorbs the conglomerate of the Bijuu, the Ten Tails, which surpasses the Ninetales quite significantly. So significantly it devastates the entire planet from merely existing, with Madara and Hashirama debating how they would even deal with it. Madara then comes back to life, gets a Renegon, and absorbs this Ten Tails into himself. Might Guy in the 8 Gates can kick him so hard, it almost split him in 2 if he landed a direct hit on him, warping time and space. Madara has to regenerate from this and then face off against base 6 Paths Naruto, who just absorbed Hagoromo's power, and Madara pulls out Limbo in desperation and a bunch of stops, and gets annihilated in 1 hit, then saying that has nothing to do with any damage or nerf that he received. He then has to absorb a divine tree and obtain immortality to face off against Naruto and Sasuke in their new forms, with Sasuke still having the ability to chop this Madara clean in half before he can barely turn around. Madara then has to get a second Renegon, which arguably increases his ocular powers exponentially based on dialogue leading up to this. This also would be foreshadowing for why DMS Kakashi got such a huge amp, and he still is stalemating Naruto's shadow clones with his Limbo, and has to awaken a third eye to then say, it's time to take them down, with a serious expression. Madara then gets betrayed and reveals the true form he has become, Kaguya Otsutsuki. With Naruto and Sasuke not even being able to believe a power like Kaguya can exist, with them being overwhelmed in one-on-one encounters. Kaguya easily obliterating Sasuke's Susanoo, and Naruto needing to swarm her with a dimension full of shadow clones and massive multipliers just to fend her off briefly. This Kaguya can absorb all the energy she has taken on Earth to create an expansive truth-seeking orb that can annihilate her time spaces, and this Kaguya is then built up as doing all these crazy things and getting all these powers because she was scared of her Otsutsuki boss of sorts, Momoshiki. Whether or not Kaguya or Momoshiki would win a one-on-one encounter isn't too important, even if that's necessarily base Momoshiki or fusion Momoshiki or whatever else. The data tables in Ishiki's dimension imply they are at a similar level of evolution, so it's safe to say at the bare minimum, some type of battle would happen between them. I don't want to make this video totally about Momoshiki versus Kaguya. Either way, it's mainly Momoshiki favored in terms of all of the dialogue and lore, but that's what I would say, just being generous. This being is then plopped into Boruto's very entity and can give him multiple generations worth of fighting experience, advanced Shinju knowledge, and techniques that make ninjutsu look basically barbaric. His very existence makes the pre-existing world of Naruto look like they've been playing an entirely different game. Naruto and Sasuke have to face Momoshiki, and of course, together they can defeat him with a lot of effort while actually drained of some of their chakra. Sasuke had to teleport a bunch of people, which earlier in the series we see that takes a lot of energy, and Momoshiki actually took some of Naruto's powers. Then we are introduced to Jigen, who is so powerful, he makes the highly powerful top tiers Naruto and Sasuke, even at max power, look like complete victims, kicking through their avatars and Susanos like there's nothing there, with every physical blow making you wonder if Sasuke is finally going to kick the bucket. And when you're watching Jigen and Ishiki fight, you actually start to feel kind of bad for Sasuke. It's a little bit crazy. Anyway, Jigen is next level, and Ishiki even crazier than that, which is described by Shikamaru later in the series as clarification. With Naruto having to basically go Super Saiyan God in Boruto form to fight him with some crazy nuclear hydrogen chakra multiplier that is so nonsensical, Naruto could only do it for like a few seconds just to decrease Ishiki's lifespan by hours. I go over Baryon mode and Ishiki more in this video here, which I recommend, but if you really want to take it to its extreme, nuclear fusion could be billions of times of an increase of what it actually fuses together and magnifies. Unfortunately for us, we don't have the most details on Ishiki versus Boruto on current Boruto, so it's not super important right now, but we'll go into some details a little bit later. After the defeat of Ishiki, we then learn of cyborgs that made Jigen start to shit his pants. They were made with the abilities of the corpse from a higher dimensional celestial being, and I'm not making that up. A mathematically One Punch Man type transcendent god character from a higher dimension. Like, literally. And they had to be nerfed or disposed of, or else Ishiki was going to freak out in Jigen's body. And these cyborgs, like Unrestrained Code, Ada, and Damon, are all said to surpass Jigen's power. Ada being more of a hacks or special ability type character than a Dragon Ball combatant, but this does apply to still Code and Damon. They both far surpass Jigen. Ishiki is more debatable and a bit unquantifiable for now, but that's for another day. The Boruto database does say that Baryon mode Naruto is a unsurpassed or like unrealistic or insane max power character, but he still could be surpassed after that form existed, but for now we'll just kind of leave that be. Either way, Code, after unleashing all his powers, gets stepped on by base Boruto after he trains with Kashin Koji, and gets slammed by an Uzuhiko. The Uzuhiko uses all of the planet's rotation and chakra to put you in a perpetual motion cycle you can't escape from. Normally by this point in the series, planetary things would seem a little irrelevant. Even in Naruto Shippuden, the Nine Tails, Madara, and the Ten Tails were seemingly kind of life-wiping or shaking the planet up quite a bit, even if you just want to downplay all the Kaguya stuff and all that. But in this case, not really. Remember the likes of the Kirin Jutsu, where Sasuke launches a lightning bolt from heaven that surpasses any jutsu with a change in chakra nature is capable of because it uses natural components or natural forces. Now, while I'm not saying this uses natural energy, as the Boruto database makes clear that it's not, it obviously exerts much more energy than a literal normal lightning bolt. Uzuhiko is similar, using the rotation and energy of a planet that possesses so much chakra that in the novels it begins to warp time and space. It then will either leave you in this motion for billions of years or until you die. This jutsu one-taps Code, who far exceeds Jigen, and he can do nothing about it. That's the level of base Boruto, and he will soon access his Karma Mark and ocular powers as we see in the very first chapter of the series in his final face-off or his next face-off against Kawaki, possibly exponentially increasing his battle powers we saw with his usage of Karma all throughout part 1 of the Boruto series. His speed is also immensely important to his skill set and role in the world, having to be fast enough to avoid all capture at all times to protect those he cares about, in a similar sense as his grandfather Minato, and therefore having to greatly exaggerate his speed. Naruto characters get uniquely fast as time goes on. In the original series, many characters had rumors of dodging or slashing through lightning bolts, then moving as fast as or like light in the data books, or some other characters like Haku, and then many characters surpassing that many times over. With Might Guy running so fast, space began warping around him, and Madara Uchiha with a planet-warping Ten Tails chakra absorbed could barely even move. He had Madara Uchiha, who's wielding pseudo-Sage of the Six Paths powers like a deer in the headlights of a truck. Madara can potentially even rewind time with his Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto and Sasuke have to keep up with each other while Sasuke is teleporting around, such as when Kage was transforming. A lot of crazy things with the speed could be possible. In the Naruto novels, it is rumored that Naruto with almost no power or chakra could react to a possible photon or light ray, while he basically has nothing in the tank. Sasuke could keep track of a particle that would interact with a constellation in short succession, possibly being millions of times the speed of light, and much, much more. That being said, speed is very important in the verse, no matter what you really say about it, as many of the characters are able to damage each other with relatively high results if they land. This is why the cast will often use substitutions, tricks, or have to avoid pretty much every attack, as opposed to other shonen where slugging out your strongest attacks is oftentimes just a testament if you're equal. This is why characters like Minato became so legendary throughout his time, as he was a character with a powerful one-hit KO move, the Rasengan, as well as being the fastest, as well as having teleported. So as the story went on and the shonen brawl formula became a bit more standard, with characters being able to land relative kill shots, such as Sasuke slapping a Chidori across Naruto's face for damage, rather than blowing a hole in his torso like he would have in part 1, and so on and so on. But speed is still important, as I will emphasize, especially for her characters that have no regenerative powers, as an example. Kaguya, during her fights with Naruto and Sasuke, reaches a point in her Genesis dimension that she would exponentially amplify her speed and power, with Kakashi having to use his DMS to basically hacks her out and damage her so the others could then go on to seal her. Sasuke as an adult becomes so strong while fatigued, he can brawl with, or at least be comfortable brawling with, someone arguably around Kaguya's level, if not hypothetically surpassing it, with Sasuke thinking the 5 Kage and then while fatigued could beat this fearful Kaguya plus level opponent, whether true or false, and much more. Sasuke can then keep up with Momoshiki, but then when Ishiki appears, Sasuke can barely even see his attacks sometimes, if at all, due to how fast they are, requiring a nuclear fusion level multiplier on Naruto's chakra to be able to handle them. This is important because we're talking about speeds that would likely blitz all of Naruto Shippuden being displayed by Baryon mode Naruto and Ishiki. This is important because Kawaki is going to be the next Ishiki, which is stated multiple times. Using his dojutsu, his literal power, and all his abilities, he will likely reach his level, if not surpass it, assuming he hasn't already. Boruto must probably also do the same, and has likely been training just for that phenomenon, getting to the point that in just base form he can react to someone who would slap Jigen silly, who was flying through Naruto and Sasuke like he was a Jiren or Superman type character. Naruto and Sasuke, the characters who in the last Naruto survived a character slicing through the moon. Remember, as well, base Boruto. Throughout all of Naruto, characters have been using multiple power-ups. Itachi has a Sharingan that gives him precognition-like abilities, then multiplies it further with Mangekyo Sharingan, which the novels will describe it as several folds increase in strength, probably from an inferior Mangekyo, as Itachi's would be insanely powerful as he had to kill basically his whole family, and the novels and even the very manga itself will describe these traumatic events as actually exponentially increasing its powers. Naruto has Sage Mode, then Kurama's Chakra, then Six Paths Chakra amplifying him, and Kurama's Chakra alone can multiply the entire alliance, arguably by several folds the power of Kakashi. At least enough to make Kakashi able to use the Kamui at 3-fold the efficiency. Might Guy has arguably dozens of times more power in 8 gates. Some will even say just every single gate is dozens of times or a dozen times increase. And Kakashi has Sharingan Precognition, And in the first Final Valley battle, we see that the completed Sharingan can rival and easily pummel around the increase from Naruto's Kyuubi chakra, and that at this point amps him to a degree that can be described as Naruto's ultimate strength in the guidebooks. The likes of which could make a transformed Gaara go through conniptions mid-fight, and have to swing out an entire Bijou to get Naruto to go away, and then resort to Gamabunta in a weaker state. Hashirama still has a Sage Mode multiplier and uses a bit of nature energy. Nagato is using the Renegon. Choji is using Red Pill or Butterfly Mode like multipliers. Neji is using the Byakugan and its increases, etc., etc. Even Kiba has arguable multipliers. But Boruto does it all flat. He then can use Momoshiki to greatly increase his combat powers, and then awakening the Byakugan on top of this. In the anime, he has the Jogan, which is stated to be incredibly troublesome dojutsu, even by Otsutsuki standards, which includes characters like Urashiki and his multi-evolved Blue Renegon that can skip through time in a fight, and would likely massively increase his power level. This increase is shown when just revived Madara and White Mask Obito getting Madara's original Renegon, or Nagato becoming a shinobi god-like figure just having a Renegon in his head. The likes of which made Madara go from getting jumps like he was in JJK and getting fly-swatted around by the Bijou to him blinking a Limbo clone at them and taking them down in seconds, fulfilling the entire Akatsuki's role in the blink of an eye, with the second then exponentially increasing his power beyond even that. To wrap up the video, I think a final fun thing to go over is just some of the moves Boruto can actually implement in combat. These are things that people often overlook in just power scaling videos, but I think here it's kind of interesting, and to connect Naruto and Boruto a little bit more naturally for the fans' sake. For instance, imagine Boruto at equal stats or as a similar level shinobi to an Akatsuki member, like Deidara, Sasori, Kakazu, Pain, or anybody else. How would he go about fighting them if they were purely fighting tactic for tactic? Let's say Boruto was as strong as Kakashi and he was thrown into the Pain arc. What would he even do? Boruto is able to lob long-range lightning-style jutsu such as his Thunderbolt, which would be very effective against a lot of the Akatsuki. And he has, in Sasuke's own words, mastered pretty much every single trick Sasuke has himself, with the majority of the things he hasn't or doesn't probably being Orochimaru's snake-type jutsu, but honestly, you might see that as well. This includes obviously Chidori-type techniques, but most specifically the Chidori Nagashi or the Chidori Stream. And even more interestingly is that Boruto can not only do this, but he can use it in tandem with Purple Lightning. Purple Lightning is a technique not really explained too much in either Naruto Shippuden or in Boruto, but was a move invented later by the 6th Hokage Kakashi to basically keep his power level high after losing Obito's Sharingan during the war as he took the Hokage mantle, with him struggling to use the Lightning Blade at this point without his eyesight. And in return for him not having a Sharingan, more power was used to upgrade his stats rather than his eyesight and to enhance his Lightning Blade. We learn of this in the novels, and in the novels, despite Kakashi being a high-level shinobi, and Inoki, the Tsuchikage, seeing a lot of things during the war, being completely blown away and surprised at the sheer power Purple Lightning could generate. Remember, Inoki's seen a lot of things at this point, showing that Purple Lightning and Kakashi both had probably leveled up significantly. Purple Lightning is also more likely and reasonably an upgrade in strength by design. Kakashi also had a slightly leveled up variant of the raw Chidori in the databooks called the Lightning Blade. You'll notice that it is actually considered a higher level jutsu. And while functionally they're basically the same and actually called the same, Kakashi's mastery of it made it incredibly more dangerous to the point it is almost described as being able to negate durability in the series. Yet Purple Lightning is still probably another level up of this concept. Boruto can not only use this, but can use this with the finesse Sasuke can use his Chidori and Lightning style abilities. Another point to further exaggerate Purple Lightning and why it's probably a lot more powerful is Kakashi mainly invented it because he can't just run around with a speed amp that Chidori would normally give him. So, for instance, if he was just to stab Kakazu from behind like he did during the Akatsuki pursuit fights, Purple Lightning here would be what he uses instead, and the Chidori there is not actually enhancing his speed because he's not moving. So this is further evidence that it probably is even higher than the Lightning Blade in terms of stopping power. So even in some equal shinobi stats like debate, the excess power and techniques Boruto would be able to execute is intense and highly versatile. You could also use these in tandem with his ability to teleport, so in similar fashion to Minato and his Rasengans, not really needing something like a Chidori speed boost while running and attacking, while also being able to do grappling shock maneuvers if you really wanted to instantly subdue an opponent. The anime also implies Boruto has some good usage of Hyuga-style taijutsu, and with his Byakugan and Momoshiki's entire bloodline giving him intel on what to do, he could probably strike out all your chakra points and incapacitate you on a level Neji can't really dream of, on top of being able to absorb any ninjutsu through his karma mark. Momoshiki shows some of this more in the anime, with the manga being a bit faster paced to probably get to the new content they want to adapt. This was true of Dragon Ball Super, which Boruto took some inspiration from in terms of the dual canonicity model, both having a canon anime and manga. So probably rush through those first arcs, which were already movies, to get to the new stuff. On top of the Purple Lightning and all of Sasuke's large jutsu arsenal he could probably have, which may even include Kirin, a jutsu that completely surpasses any shinobi's ability to create a change in chakra nature in Part 2 before 6 paths, hell, even being used against 6 paths in Naruto in the anime. Boruto also has Rasengans, obviously, but all of them have a bit of a unique spin compared to Naruto and Minato's. His Rasengan unknowingly harnesses a change in chakra nature, with him adding a slight lightning flare to the concoction when it is formed, causing it to completely vanish before hitting its target. So if any character drops their guard a lot, this would be a pretty significant technique to use. This is unseeable by even top tiers with massively powerful ocular powers, and even as a child could catch Momoshiki off guard while he was transformed. Using Momoshiki, he can generate a massive Rasengan blast, as well as a Rasengan bullet, which is sort of a fired-off variation. Naruto once did this with a small Rasen Shuriken Kyuubi Chakra mode during the War Arc, but this is used as more of a fast projectile he can launch with precision, being used to blast Karma Code off of Kawaki, who he had hostage. This would similarly work in a situation such as Danzo holding Karin as an example, not needing to blow a hole through Karin to, I don't know, farm some aura. But Momoshiki also possesses the ability to see fate as well, although not having the same level of detail as Kashin Koji. He can seemingly stop time to also interact with Boruto. Kawaki and Ishiki also have somewhat of a similar time stop ability, where Kawaki can access a dimension where there is no time, and whether or not this actually scales to their speeds or stats is a bit up for contention. But either way, both of them are getting geared up to fight the vestiges of a probable higher dimensional celestial being and its offshoots. Further evidence of this is that if Madara does have the time rewinding Mangekyo Sharingan, that his ability would probably be based off of the vestiges that would come from the Otsutsuki like Kaguya, Ishiki, and all those characters. So it would actually fit within the story's narrative. So it's no surprise that the final shinobi would have to become the most powerful, possibly ending the entire shinobi cycle once and for all. As you really have to think, why is Kawaki suddenly against shinobi in general if he was against the Otsutsuki? If more than likely Shibai or an Otsutsuki is probably behind the cycle. As a fun fact, it was confirmed that Boruto amplifies his sword slashes with chakra. This was a somewhat contentious thing that even the normal Naruto fanbase sort of had to deal with in the past, where it wasn't exactly clarified why steel tools could even damage shinobi capable of even bombing a city block or surviving a city block blowing up or a mountain. Since this is learned by Sasuke, Sasuke also uses this technique, and most other swordsmen probably have some type of relative ability. Even the fodder samurai in the Land of Iron also have this. Hopefully we can one day have something like this for shuriken-based techniques too, but either way, a cool update. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed the video. If you're a fan of Boruto, please kindly show your support by liking the video, subscribe to me, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Peace.